Nobody's ever safe going into the next round. The only way you can get yourself safe, get that win, lock yourself in, and no doubt about it, one of those playoff drivers will be doing that here tonight, as currently Kevin King, Danson, Harris, Phillips, Silver, Six, Freenash, and Lariah by default above that cut line. But that's not to say that Nieto, Horn, Castro, and Johnson don't have a shot at this as well, as we get set to kick off the round of 12. But the real kicker will come next week at the Talladega Superspeedway. That's where you know everything is going to be kicked into overdrive. So Texas, I think, is a nice way to calmly start off this second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and what a crap place to have an opportunity to win here at Texas. I mean, this is just a track position track. It doesn't matter who's the fastest. It's not going to matter who's got the best car or who's the best driver. It's just going to matter who can get out front at the right time. And unfortunately, we saw that in the Cup race. We saw it in the Xfinity race. The racing here's just been, god awful all week. It's been god awful on the racetrack. But the one thing about, the RSR is they put on a good show. So I expect to see drivers come up here and put a good one on. I was very surprised. Do you know who the leader of practice was, guys? Jaron Weinmaster. So Jaron Weinmaster has shown up to play, and he's sitting 5th on the board in qualifying.
Series race. However, they still are going to have very limited tires. And Terry, the tires are going to be such a big decision maker in these drivers on the pit stops all race long.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that tires didn't really mean a whole lot in the Cup race. You saw people stay out, people took tires and whatnot. This could potentially be one of those moments where if we get a caution with 15 to go or 10 to go, I would not be surprised to see somebody stay out or come down and maybe try to flip-flop a little track position. We could see another upset. I mean, this could be another upset race where a playoff driver might not go to victory lane.
And of course, those playoff drivers will be highlighted in red like normal on all of our graphics here for RaceSpotTV. And we can take a look at the past winners of the last 5 races we have had here. It's the first time we're going to be visiting the virtual Texas Motor Speedway for a points race here in 2022. Andrew Farinage winning 3 of the last 5. And Eberhardt back in the field tonight, won back in 2020, and as well as Connor Horn with the 2019 win. But qualifying underway right now, and Agnell Phillip just going to go to the top of the board right there. 1 minute 20 seconds remaining on the clock as we get a look at Matt Danson, who currently is putting in his first time of qualifying. This is going to need to be a good one to get up through the ranks, and let's see what the 38 can do for Logitech G Altus Esports. And this is actually going to start his first lap here. That was a warm-up there, and he will now go on the clock down the back straightaway. Let's see what the 38 can do. Of course, the winner from Kansas just a couple of weeks ago.
Matt Danson has proven that he is more than capable of getting wins here on the oval side of things with that latest win at the Kansas Speedway. Now he gets set to try to put himself further up in this field as he crosses the start-finish line with a 30.517. And that is going to put him second to last so far on the boards, about 6/10 off from Agnell Phillip. Now he's going to run the bottom lane, though, through 1 and 2 and fire it back down the back straightaway. The current pole time, the 29.947, set by Agnell Phillip as Danson comes around through it almost flat out, turns 3 and 4 into the quad oval once more, clips that first dog leg, and second lap, 29.973, going to be good enough for 4th.
That puts him way up the track now, Terry.
Well, he rode the outside lane right there on the first lap, which was very surprising. But whoa, Kevin King just beat him by a whole tenth. He went out there and he's flying.
Fast time for the number 31, and Kevin King, of course, ran in the FTF Cup Series as well a couple of days ago. I believe he went from somewhere in the 30s up to about P5 before the end of the night, so we know that he's got a very, very fast race car when it comes to the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And now just a couple of seconds away from qualifying, Nolan Terry, put your money where your mouth is. Who's winning tonight, and is it going to be a playoff driver to advance into the next round? Because that's ultimately what we're going to be watching throughout the playoffs so far. It's been all playoff drivers with race wins.
Too soon to tell for me, honestly, at this point in time. Kevin King is on pole, but how many times have we seen the pole sitter end up getting taken out in races like these? Agno Phillip has obviously been a good front qualifier, but usually has bad luck in the race as well. Freenach hasn't had a very up-and-up season so far, but trends over the last couple of years say that this race would be Freenach's to lose, though I'm not terribly confident of that, seeing as he started all the way back on the third row.
I'm going to take a dark horse. I'm taking Gary Sexton in the 1.
Wow.
I know. Yeah, I'm taking the 1 of Gary. First off, he ran really good at Kansas. Very good pace, very good strategy. Just had an all-around good car. While he's not starting, in the top 5, he's starting 9th. So if that tells you anything, short-run pace, he's there in a one-lap money ship. But hey, what does he have to lose? He could go throw caution to the wind. I'm taking the 1 of Gary Sexton.
Of course, Gary also from the Houston area, so this would be a bit of a hometown track for him. And let's take a look at that Kayla Synthetic starting grid with Kevin King grabbing the pole position at a 29.874. He's ahead of Agnel Phillip to his outside. Joseph Tice with Sam Nieto 3rd and 4th. Matt Danson, Andrew Farina are going to round out the first 6 spots on the starting grid.
Give it to Raya for 7th place with Tom. William Schmidt will round out the top 10 with Timothy Johnson and Cody Harris in 11th and 12th.
You go back over to 13th. You got Raleigh Grant Davis in the 24 with the fastest man in practice, Jaron Winemaster. Guy was very quick on the short and the long run. He's got Sean Casto, Brandon 6 behind him. Eric Papineau back there in the 17th position, and Brandon Fetter place rounds that top 18.
Michael Johnson will start 19th. Ross Cato to his outside, rounding out the top 20. Nick Silver, Brandon Bowie going to be sharing that 11th row. Manazzi Major, Dylan Jones going to round out the first 12 on the starting grid.
That's going to put Daniel Everhart at 25th with Sean Kalis into 26th. Tom Barada was the last driver to put down the qualifying lap down to 27th. Connor Horn, Eric Stanford, and Brian Chambliss round at the top 30 with Mike Kaczynski bringing up the field. 31 drivers going to take to the track here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway and go racing in the first race of the round of 12. And this is going to be a very interesting race to watch because we have Kevin King on the pole. Mentioned his strong performance in the FTF Cup Series a couple of days ago. He's going to look for a race win here. And remember, Kevin King was one of those drivers that got a win in the last round of the playoffs that put him through into the round of 12. Can he put himself into the round of 8 just as quick as he did with that win at Darlington and go to victory lane here? It would save him from Talladega and the Charlotte Roval that are on the horizon, but right now, these drivers are only focusing on No Limits Texas. As the field bunches up 2 by 2, iRacing pace car is going to head into the safety of the pit lane, and we will go racing. 167 laps lay ahead of these drivers in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, and as Barney the Flagman will wave the green flag, we are racing from virtual Texas. First lap will go to Kevin King, but take a look at Agnel Phillip right on the back bumper of the 31. Joseph Tice, Sam Nieto going to go side by side. That's Nieto, playoff driver on the outside. Joseph Tice trying to spoil the playoff party inside for third. A lot of drivers already migrated down to that inside lane early, trying to make sure that they stay right down there, pinned to the bottom where all of the speed is. The top two started to build up a small gap as Nieto and Tice work against each other with that side draft. Off of turn 4, down the front straightaway, Kevin King leads lap 2.
Yeah, no surprise that Agnell Phillips all over his back bumper. I mean, you see the run he gets into turns 1 and 2. That exit off right there for Agnell has been phenomenal. He's actually had to check up enough to let Tice get to the inside of him going into 3 and 4. You don't want to be on that outside, but Agnell Phillips said, hold my beer, boys. He's holding it out there, and the 31 washes up.
Take a look at that run for Agnell Phillip. That's going to be enough to grab him the race lead. Around the outside through 3 and 4. New race leader and Kevin King. Entry to turn 1. Just lost 2/10 right there, Nolan. It looked like he slammed on the brakes, which you might need a little bit of help getting through these corners, but didn't look like he needed that much. He had this trouble getting that 31 slowed down as he heads back to turn 3.
Might have been caught off guard by Agnell Phillips breaking points just a little bit, which caused him to overcompensate down to the turn number 1, as now he's going to have to drive down the front straightaway, trying to look to the outside of Agnell Phillips. Thought about making the move, but he's going to end up backing off. Now he's going to try to set himself up for the run off of turn number 2, down the back straightaway. Single file for the top 6 or so. Then it's a small gap back to Friedrich, and we're side by side then all the way back in the mid-pack. But the front runners looks like they want to work together for the time being to get themselves a gap built over the field.
You can see the 51 back here starting to get washed up the track just a tad bit. That's Wetmore with Grant Davis trying to work his way up to the, I believe that would be the 9th place position. They go side by side. Non-playoff drivers, Wetmore got eliminated after the last week's race at Bristol. Was not available to show up to the event, but he slides right in front of Gary Sexton, who's sitting in 11th. My pick to win this thing. But, I mean, right now, when you got 2 drivers in the top 8 that are non-playoff drivers, and then 2 more in the top 10 that aren't playoff drivers. But what is this showing here, Josh? This is showing that these non-playoff drivers are still here to fight as the battle for the lead heats up big time.
Non-playoff drivers looking to fight, but playoff drivers are still fighting plenty at the front. And now Agnell Phillip stuck on the outside line through 1 and 2 is going to lose a spot to not only Kevin King, but might also lose one to Joseph Tice as he went to the bottom side. Couldn't get that move completed, and now Phillip, remember that move he made outside turns 3 and 4 to get the lead away from Kevin King. Joseph Tice has to get out of the gas and almost collects Sam Nieto. That's going to back the 2 up to the front bumper of the 38 of Matt Danson.
And Tice clipped that apron in turns 3 and 4. That caused him to bobble slightly off of the bottom, so he had to lift out to avoid cleaning that Agnell Phillip. Look at Phillip at the run on Kevin King, getting all the way up the back bumper as they hit the back straightaway, and going to give him a bump draft down that back straightaway as well. Bump drafting is not something you see terribly often at bottom of the half, so that's going to unsettle Kevin King as they enter turns 3 and 4 as well, but not enough for Phillip to be able to make the move just yet. King still holding strong with the race lead.
Now, even though I can't stay in this track, it still presents a lot of challenges for these drivers. Those bumps down there at the bottom in 1 and 2, you have bumps on the outer grooves at 3 and 4. If you get up and out of that groove, if you even so much as catch the bump at the wrong time, you'll see the car get unsettled like you saw with Tice right there. Kind of wiggled a little bit, but you see Sam Nieto, he's blocking for dear life. You don't want to give up the bottom in 3 and 4 as you got William Schmidt up to the outside. He's trying to battle Matt Danson.
Off of turn number 4, back through the quad oval. Nieto holds on to 4th, and Danson wants to get further up the top 5. Side by side for 6th right now. That's William Schmidt on the outside, Andrew Farinage in the 88 on the inside, and Schmidt is doing his best to hold it around the outside and is currently keeping up on that outside line, the number 79, and he'll flat out beat Andrew Farinage to the entry of turn 3. Can't get much else as they go through the middle of the corner, and up in front, gap back down to under a 10th. Phillip looks to the bottom, but Kevin K is going to be aggressive for it, tries to hold on to the top spot, and just by a couple of inches, he will beat the 94 of Agnell Phillip to the braking zone of turn 1.
Way back in the field, Brandon Bowie had a close shave with the USAA Toyota Camry of Tim Johnson and Connor Horn, with Benazzi Major having to scramble as drivers left, right, and center still fighting it out for positions. Phillip had to just fend off Joseph Tice down towards turn number 3 as Tice had thrown one, the haymaker of a block down the back straightaway. Make that Phillip trying to throw that haymaker of a block to keep Tice behind him. I think Phillip knows Tice is not battling for a championship. Phillip knows the stakes here, and he wants to try to keep as little space between himself and Kevin King as possible, but a bobble there might cost Agno Phillip, as that might let Joseph Tice get back up to the inside.
Well, the good part is Tice actually bobbled too. That whole top 5 had a little bit of a scare there, almost like what David Rudeman experienced back years ago with the COT or the car of tomorrow. So this track does present the challenges for these drivers. We saw that there was almost a wreck back there for 23rd, but there's almost a wreck for the lead. All of these drivers in the dirty air trying to carry as much momentum as possible, trying to stay in this conga line. And also the blocking is getting even more intense. We're on lap 13, and I've seen more blocks today than we're going to see at Talladega next week.
Texas right now looking like the newly configured Atlanta, as it looks like a sort of pseudo super speedway racing right now on the racetrack, as they will put 13 laps behind us, go on to lap number 14. So a long way to go in this race, still a long way to go in terms of strategy and pit stops as well, but Danson will try and go to the outside. I'm not sure if that's going to do well. He will get to the outside of Sam Nieto, he's trying to battle now and trying to get up to the outside of Joseph Tice Nolan, but for Matt Danson now and Andrew Friedage a little bit as he tries to go to the outside. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a pseudo Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega type where if you get out of line you're going to fall back, or if you have the speed to run up top then you can. Right now it seems like Matt Danson is not really going forward but seems to be pretty stationary, but of course right as I say that, big checkup on the inside put Danson a third.
I think that's the only reason why that outside lane is working right now, is because that inside lane keeps checking up so much, because everybody's running that inside line. That's what's allowing guys on the outside to get all this pace, because they don't have to do all the checking up that guys further in the back are doing as well. You can still see Joseph Tice now trying to follow suit with what Matt Danson is doing and move to the outside to try to make up some more ground, as Danson will secure third place for the time being, with Joseph Tice now trying to go with him. San Diego's going to have to back off from the inside lane as Matt Danson just barely finds a hole, and there's another bobble for both Agno Phillip and Joseph Tice as we fire it down the back straightaway once more.
We'll see how deep the 5 drives it in there in 3 and 4. And he's driving it almost to the side of Kevin King there, but he's not going to be able to get to the inside. You see how close he gets off the exit. He's not going to be clear, but he'll catch some toe off the back of the 31. He cleared himself for second for a moment. Let's see if he can do it here in 1 and 2. And well, if Kevin King would go any faster, he'd be clear, and he's not. He's going to get battled down the back straightaway.
Side by side now for second as they go back to turn 3. Now about the big block thrown further back as the entire field starts to look a little antsy, and you can throw a blanket right now over everybody in the top 7, separate them by 9/10. You have to look back to P15 and Tom Wetmore to find the first driver outside of 2 seconds from your current race leader, the 31 of Kevin King. We know how dominant he has been this season, arguably one of the championship favorites for the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series championship, and right now he leads the way from No Limits Texas, but you got to look a little bit further back to find that next side-by-side battle. And as they fight their way off of turn number 4, that's William Schmidt and Raleigh Grant Davis that are going side-by-side. Give Grant Davis the 8th spot, and remember, 2 playoff drivers fighting here. You can find 6 playoff drivers within the top 7, and then the rest of them kind of spread out throughout the top 20, Nolan.
At least all the playoff drivers are still currently running within that top 20. That's at least a start, but you have to get yourself at least up into the top 10 if you want to make sure you have a chance to make that top 8 by the time you get towards the end of this race. Still continuing to work our way through lap after lap, and once more these little checkups causing problems as San Diego try to get to the inside of Danson, but Danson threw a late block to cut off the number 2 car. As we fire it back down in the turn number 1. Once again, inside lane, reigning supreme as driver preference so far. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the quickest, though. The more cars in the inside lane, the more prone you are to those dreaded checkups.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that next week at Talladega, where everybody's going to be wanting to be a bottom feeder. It's the one thing I can't stand about plate racing is nobody wants to be fearless. Nobody wants to go to the outside. Nobody wants to take it 3 wide anymore. They're afraid that it's not going to work, that they can't control these cars. And these next-gen cars, we've seen it on the playoff or the super speedway style tracks where you take a bump and it just unsettles it. You get in dirty air, it really affects the handling of these cars, and you want to be the leader. So the harder you fight to keep the lead, the more you're in the vicinity to get wrecked. And we've seen Kevin King, he's thrown blocks on Phillip, he's thrown blocks on Tice, he's thrown blocks on everybody up front. He doesn't want to get past because, well, you're going to have a hard time getting back by him.
We can take a look at our first look at the championship standings as they currently run for those 12. And, of course, Kevin King with the race lead. If he does get this race win, he would be locked into the next round. Right now, Harris and Nieto are bouncing back and forth as we have a 3-wide battle back here between Eberhardt, Brandon 6, and that's Gary Sexton up on the outside and off of turn 4. The 90 gets a little bit loose. Now they'll be 2 wide with 6 on the inside. Here comes Nick Silver as well to go to the inside of Gary Sexton, and Sexton going to lose a couple of spots there. Is also getting by will be Ross Cato on the inside, but you can see Michael Araya not with a ton of points to his name. He had connection issues, dropped out of the race session, and now sits 6 laps down. P31, not the start to the round that he needed. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be in a must-win situation off of the first race and into the wall. Who was that? Mike Kaczynski just turned straight right, hits the wall outside of turn 3, but single car incident off of the racing line. He toes it back. No caution. We stay green.
That was a really weird incident there. Looked like he got unsettled from the little bit of a seam that's leading up to that outside lane. Just drifted 2 wide. Gonna look at the RaceSpot replay. Watch that. As soon as he hits that seam, that car just goes. And it's a very simple overcorrection from there and head on into the wall. That fires him back down and pancakes that inside barrier as well.
That was identical to what you saw back in the back there, and no caution. Single car incident does not bring a caution out here, and you could hear the overcorrection. Instead of getting a break, instead of kind of turning it to the left a little bit, he chose to turn it back to the right. It snapped the steering a little bit. Something could have potentially broke there. You kind of heard it in the replay where when he went to get back on the gas, it was done, and it just wanted to kick, and it didn't want to steer. But how about this? Sam Nieto takes the lead.
Single car incident, no yellow flag as an issue for Brandon Bowie. He's way off the pace down the front straightaway. We caught that Mike Kaczynski incident, really, because we were only looking back at Michael Araya. Now Brandon Bowie very slow on the front straightaway. Sam Nieto to the race lead, Nolan, and I think hopefully we don't miss another lead change with this replay, but wondering what happened to Brandon Bowie, newly eliminated from the playoffs as of last week.
Off of turn number 4, right behind Connor Horn, gets loose off turn 4, hightails it through the infield grass. That's why he was so slow in the number 34 car. Kind of cuts back through the dog leg, but doesn't look like he had too much of an incident other than that. So a lucky escape there for Brandon Bowie.
Just a bit of rallycross action, right, Terry?
Oh, I mean, I've started to get more into the rallycross. Glad to see Brandon Bowie is too. But swap back for the lead. Kevin King takes it back from Sam Nieto. And that was interesting because they're not teammates. And Nieto takes the lead. He gets a point for leading the lap. And then Kevin King goes right back under him. No fight at all from Nieto. King goes back, takes the lead back. But Andrew Freenage is up here in this battle. Daniel Eberhardt's jumped up, by the way, 16 spots. So passing is, it's a thing here. It's just, not very prevalent anywhere else.
It's hard to come by, really, to make those passes, and we've seen that by the amount of kind of blocking that we've seen, because it's kind of easy to block off the exit of turn 2, because undoubtedly with the banking of that corner, it's going to be very difficult to get runs off of it, but the caution flag is going to fly. Tim Johnston, Sean Castro, and it looks like Brian Chambliss involved as well with an incident on the front straightaway.
And that one's all going to kick off from Sean Casto on a potentially self-inflicted incident as potentially just threw it in too hard through turn number 4. And we knew this was going to happen eventually. A lot of these guys have been getting very, very loose off of these corners. only mad time for something like this. Look at Munatsi Major shoot through the middle. A little bit of a ding on the right front, but apart from that, nothing too major. But that was a heck of a shot that Brian Chambers took to the outside wall.
The 39 actually got all up in the back bumper of him, and it took him a minute to wreck, but when he finally did, that was massive. And this is exactly the caution that Brandon Bowie needed too, by the way, because, you know, Bowie had the issue where he went through the grass there and tried a little rally cross, but hey, he's back up here now. He's back connected to the pack. No harm, no foul for the 34 machine. But that was just a weird wreck. It took it almost to half a straightaway to just develop all the way.
So that'll bring out first yellow flag of the evening, lap 30 of 167. Who is going to come into the pit lane? Because, of course, only 4 tire sets sitting in the pit lane for these drivers. And it looks like first pass by the pit entry. Pit lane is open, and it's going to be everybody in the lead pack down into the pit lane. Nobody looking for any added strategy yet. Looks like Dylan Jones is going to stay out. He's 3 laps down, so that makes sense. Same thing with Michael Araya, multiple laps down as well. So everybody that can pit this time by, looks like they are going to pit this time by, as Kevin King leads the field into their boxes. Question is, who's going to come out first? Did King overshoot his box? He did by more than a couple of inches. He has to go way back there. That's going to be a loss of the lead there for Kevin King, Nolan, unless he's taken 2 rights.
So Kevin King going to be taking all 4 tires, and you are correct on the lost spots, going all the way from near first place on the grid all the way back to outside of the top 5. It'll be San Nieto to be the first driver out. Sean Castro is taking the responsibility for this latest accident. He'll get the tail of the longest line penalty as a result. So San Nieto going to be your new race leader at the moment, as we get set to see how this race will pan out from here. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not sure if I totally support the call to come down to pit road. While, yeah, it's lap 31, and you're already, well on your way into this race, and I know cars are starting to get out of control. You've only got 4 sets to last the entire race, and you've still got over 130 laps left to go. Can you really make 3 sets last out that long? It's going to be a tough challenge.
I mean, I did some math, which I'm sure it's accurate. I just did some division. Every 42 laps, or 41 1/3 laps they can pit. I rounded it up to 42 because there might be some mathematicians out there in the chat that's like, it's 41.75. Yeah, you're right, it is. But, round up thing, I think that works in common math too. But you're going to have to go now with the caution laps going to be on this. You're going to go about 7-8 laps more on a set of tires. So if you can make them work, and I'm sure they're probably not doing math in the cars while they're racing, but if they are listening to the broadcast, you can go every 41 3/4 laps. So somewhere down the back straightaway, you need to stop and pit there, because then your tires are, you're ready for a new set.
Some interesting things happening in the strategy world right now as the field paces behind the iRacing pace car, and looks like we will be waiting about 2 more laps until we're ready to go back green. Let's take a look at those live championship standings again. Of course, the first race of the round of 12. So Michael Araya with his connection issues, he's fallen behind the 8 ball. Sean Castro with that incident as well. Michael Johnson not with the best start to his round of 12 run. He sits 18th, but Nolan, when all of your other championship competitors now are inside of the top 12, all of the 8 drivers that are currently inside, with the addition of Nick Silver, who is on the outside looking in, but only by 1 point, are inside of the top 12 running order right now. So Michael Johnson, even though he's not that far behind, just compared to everyone else right now, he sits 10th in the championship standings.
So 10th place in the championship standings at the moment for Johnson. That is still a little ways behind, but he's going to have to make it up if he wants to get himself at least into the top 8 in points by the end of the night. So at the moment, Michael Johnson is sitting in 18th place. That leaves plenty of room for him to make his way further up through the field as tonight goes along. Lights out aboard the pace car. We get set to go green flag racing this time by.
Am I the only one enjoying a nice ice cream bar?
You are.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's hot here.
What kind of ice cream bar are you eating there?
It's a vanilla ice cream sandwich.
Okay. I like that. I respect the choice.
I mean, I got the banana split ones in there too, but my wife if she's watching, you know, said I had to finish this box. So, cheers.
Well, as Terry enjoys his ice cream bar, or his ice cream sandwich, I should say, we get ready to go back racing with Sam Nieto and Andrew Farinaj on the front row. And now this really sees a top 4 and top 5 that is all playoff drivers, leading down to Joseph Tice, who sits P6 as we get ready to go racing. Nieto and Farinaj, no strangers to the front of the field. Same thing with Matt Danson. Same thing with Agnel Phillip. But the driver who has led the most laps so far tonight, Kevin King in the 31. Well, he sits P8 right now, 4th on the outside line. He's got a lot of work to do to get back up here. Something he is very familiar with doing, especially here at Virtual Texas. Base car pulls back down, Geico restart zone, and we are back underway. First restart of the evening, and Nieto is going to get the best start out of anybody and will lead the field down into turn number 1, but it's side by side back from there as Danson goes to the inside for 3rd on Agnel Phillip.
Grant Davis did not launch well at all and nearly got run over by Brandon 6 at the tail end of the field as a result, but we're still double filing clean for now as we run down the back straightaway on lap number 34. Phillip's going to pull clear for 3rd. Not quite. Matt Danson sticks the nose in, and he's going to get up in front and I think take 3rd place just barely at the stripe.
I'm not going to lie to you. I slept on Matt Danson in his oval program, and he goes out, he wins, and then he wins another. And now I don't know if you can sleep on him anymore. I think that, you know, if he positions himself in such a way throughout the entirety of the race that just always puts him in an opportunity to win. And it doesn't matter. He could be running 15th right now. Like, you know what? We still need to watch Matt Danson. But he's running well. Unlike Brandon 6, you go back there to him. He's still running in 8th. He just got passed for, he got put to 9th. He's been falling down this leaderboard up and down for virtually the whole race.
Sam Nieto still leads the way. Andrew Farinaj, Matt Danson, Agnel Phillip, Cody Harris. A full playoff grid in the top 5 as Joseph Tice tries to get back up there, but Brandon 6 with a massive run on the outside line. Last time by through turn number 1 and 2, he had an amazing run. Took it to the outside line and was able to pass not just 3 or 4 cars, but I believe he passed 5 that were all lined up on the inside. And now back through 1 and 2. Look at Brandon 6 in the 66. Trying to go around the outside right now to hold on to a top 5 spot as he tries to get by Cody Harris now as well. Top 6 all playoff drivers, but here comes Kevin King, now stuck behind Joseph Tice. He lets Grant Davis go on the outside line as the inside is a massive checkup again.
By side across the start finish line, drivers still weaving left and right, trying to find out where they want to go. Everybody's being sucked up into each other, and it's what's allowing this field to stay close together instead of breaking apart like we're so used to seeing even by now on most 1.5 mile racetracks. Danson still running on that top shelf with Brandon 6 right behind him, and 6 can't jump down low. He's going to stay on that outside line, trying to make up a move. He's going to really pinch in the 38 car, but he's going to drift up too wide too soon out of turn 4, forcing him to back out and give up his run.
I'll tell you, I think Brandon 6 heard me talking trash. He was like, I ain't going to make him right this time. Proves me wrong, goes to the outside, makes a ton of passes. P3, he's going to clear Matt Danson here. Now Cody Harris is going to jump to the outside. Harris is up 7 positions from where he started, which is huge. Coming off of a momentous win. Finally got that win last week at Bristol and did it in utter domination towards the end. The last half of the race was really on his toes, doing everything right as they try to go 3 wide right here, put Danson in the middle. But man, Agnel Phillip from the lead back to 6. So there we go, side by side. Now Cody Harris is going to get washed up the track.
Harris on the outside line, P5, but here comes Agnel Phillip to get a spot back in the top 5. 94 to the inside with Joseph Tice behind. He's got Grant Davis there as well, but there's another run on the outside line through 3 and 4 that's going to give Cody Harris a little bit of help. How about Daniel Eberhardt? Where did he come from? Shades at Kevin Harvick as he now creeps his way into the top 8. We talked about earlier a lot of drivers making headway in this race. How about Connor Horn, P7 plus 17, Daniel Eberhardt plus 18 on the field right now as Brandon 6 plus 13 runs in 3rd. 3 wide heading into turn 3. Here comes Agnel Phillip to join the party.
3 wide still. Daniel Eberhardt up on the top shelf. Contact between him and Danson. Sends Danson stumbling out of that middle groove. Eberhardt's going to pull clear. Grant Davis saves it from the bottom side as well. So a very, very close call as Danson continues to lose speed and time as now he's on the outside of Kevin King. Just trying to cling on to 9th place at the moment with Connor Horn wanting to break into the top 10 right behind them.
You see all these blocks going. Everybody trying to get a run down the back straightaway here. The 24, Grant Davis, he gives a shot back there to the back bumper of the 5. And you got Daniel Eberhardt in the 90 working his way back through the front. He's up 18 positions on this race. He started well on in the back. And now here he finds himself. He's trying to hunt down. He can see P3 from where he's at. You know, you see Brandon 6 right there fighting with Cody Harris on the bottom. This is just a wide open race. And you know, I had talked about how these drivers can make a really crappy track look good. Case in point, hopefully everybody around Evan P over here is enjoying the show.
How about the run for Daniel Eberhardt on the outside? And I severely hope that Evan Basoko is not watching this race just with his speakers in the middle of an airport lounge. I hope he has headphones on, and I think even then the people next to him are not going to be enjoying the loud noises coming from his headphones right now. But Brandon 6 outside to 2nd, Andrew Freenage on the inside. We mentioned Daniel Eberhardt. How about 3rd place for the 90? I mean, Nolan, he's been so vocal about his displeasure with this car, and I would assume displeasure with the car in turn also meaning displeasure with Texas Motor Speedway as well. But as he tries to fight for 2nd, it's a little too late for Daniel Eberhardt to really know how to work this car and know how to work these tracks. But better late than never for the 90. Didn't make the playoffs based on points. He had the win to back it up, but didn't make it based on points. Look at him battling for 2nd place with the playoff drivers to the inside of Brandon 6.
Hey, just because you don't like the car doesn't mean you're not going to still be faster. And then Eberhardt showing that you can still be quick and still hate the car at the exact same time as he gets clear Brandon 6 into turn 1. And is now clear to try to run down San Diego, who's now built up about a 6/10 of a second lead. Eberhardt's the biggest mover so far, qualified 25th. Now up to 2nd. Make that then plus 23 spots on the day for the number 90 Battle Beaver Ford Mustang. As Brandon 6 tries to keep Andrew Freenage right behind, giving Daniel Eberhardt a bit of space to grow that 2nd place gap right in front of the ball.
I'm kind of surprised with Sam Nieto. He's up 7/10 of a second on this field right now. And I'm not surprised because, you know, I think Sam Nieto is not a good driver. I'm just surprised with as close as this track has been, as close as these drivers have been, they're all on the same setup, which is what this next-gen car was there to provide. There was no advantage from one model to the next or whatever. And while I think the next-gen car needs some work, needs some development on tracks like short tracks where we don't see it, the mile-and-a-half program has been phenomenal. And it's been phenomenal for Sam Nieto. He's been one of the most consistent drivers on the mile-and-a-half circuits, along with Eberhardt, Freenage, Phillips, Diaz, or Tice. Even though he didn't make the playoffs, it still gives an opportunity for these drivers to come out here and show what they got. And oh yeah, these are a little throwback homage here to the Wood Brothers in that 2 machine. That's a beautiful looking Cobra.
Can he go to victory lane, punch his ticket into round of 8? As the field works their way through the quad oval, still side by side, Cody Harris and Brandon 6 here. As it looks like there was an issue for Tom Wetmore that pushed him way down the order, and Ross Cato looks like he was involved in this one as well. We'll see if we can grab a replay. This is going to be kind of going blind here, but let's see if this will indeed give us the look we want. And I believe with Cato and Wetmore next to each other, this might be it. Let's take a look as they go into turn 3, Nolan.
Cato blocked him down the back straightaway. Cato got up the inside into 3 and 4. Right about there's the contact. They both have to scramble. Cato clips the grass. Bowie had to check up and get out of it. Wetmore lost 5 places as a result. Very nearly our 2nd caution on the day on lap 47 there.
That looked fun. How do I get racing like that? That actually looked entertaining. Drivers beating and banging. You didn't get that in officials this week. You either got turned or you were running up front. You didn't get a middle in between. You couldn't ride mid-pack because, well, you were going to get flat either drove through or just spun out in the infield. But this is a really good show.
Kevin King still trying to rebound from missing his pit box in the last set of pit stops during the first yellow flag. He goes to the inside of Cody Harris. This is a fight for P6 on the racetrack and gives 6 over to Kevin King. But 5 wins on the season, tied for most of the season with Matt Danson in the number 38. Honestly, Nolan, he's my pick to win the championship. I mean, I'm not always in the booth here. Normally, I'm just producing, but tonight pulling the double duty, I gotta say, I've been watching Kevin King. I think this might be his year. I mean, 5 wins, it's tough to root against him, but I think his main competitor is going to be Matt Danson. And where Matt Danson sits right now, P10, we've seen the speed from the Altus Esports entry of the number 38 tonight, but we haven't seen leading speed. We have seen nothing but race-winning speed from Kevin King tonight.
I totally agree with you on that one. This has really been Kevin King's coming-of-age season. This has been where he has really stepped up to the mark. He has made sure to put in the work where it counts, and he is by far been the driver that's been the most successful in real sim racing with this car. The stats on that do not lie. Kevin King locked himself in very early in the season into the chase. And now he's trying to lock himself into the round of 12 as we continue to work our way through Texas Motor Speedway. The problem at the moment, he's over a second and a half back from San Vieto, so he does have a little ways to go if he wants to get himself up into the lead. But hey, end of the day, you just got to be in that top 8 if you want to find yourself secure.
And you know, Josh, I can't disagree with you. I said it a couple weeks ago as well when Kevin King went out there and put on a show. There's no way that you could sit here and look at this season and go, this is your championship favorite, until he dominated Richmond. And then you said, okay, there's nobody that's above Kevin King right here in this league. And that's not putting any of these other drivers down. Kevin King has just been consistent on short tracks. He's been consistent on road courses, he's been consistent on the mile-and-a-halves and the super speedways. I mean, he has put everything together. All 4 modes of racing and styles have been thrown together for the 31 machine. But don't forget where we go in 2 weeks. We go to Matt Danson's playground. Oh no! What happened to Eberhardt?
Loose off of turn 4, he slams the outside wall, and the number 90 Ford Mustang has fallen all the way down to P23. That was a disastrous moment for the driver that looked to have the most promise and the most improved run out of anybody in the field tonight. And Eberhardt, loose off of 4, pounds the wall, and that might be race-winning run over for Daniel Eberhardt. He was outside of Andrew Farinage, or outside of Agnel Phillip. Loose off of 4, and Nolan had just sucked him right into the wall.
You see all the damage on the right side, but gotta be honest, I don't think that was that hard of a hit mechanically. I think that's one of those cases where it looks worse than it is. I mean, there's no damage, at least on the axle-wise, that I can see. Although, as I say that, I literally, as I was talking about that, I just watched the tire rod snap at 3 and 4 and force it to come down pit road. So, as it turns out, it's slightly a bit worse for wear. That is part of that new damage model that iRacing released over this new build. It accumulates damage over time, and I think the initial hit, he could have gotten away with it. But it was the constant grinding across the wall as he tried to keep it out of traffic that really added it up and eventually just caused that part to fail.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that stinks for him, but his teammate Andrew Farinage is still up here fighting for this win. You know, he got up there with Agnel Phillip, and he's getting a pretty decent shot down the back straightaway into 3 and 4, but that moves Kevin King up to 4th. And we talked about the speed that's there. He has chunked this lead down. It was a second and a half. He's down to under a second between him and Sam Nieto. Farinage and Phillip are not catching the race leader. Turns 1 and 2 has been a very phenomenal spot for Sam Nieto in the 2. There really hasn't been a whole lot going on. There looks to be issues back there further on in the back, but now we're going to have a battle for second as Agnel Phillip went to take a peek and can't do it. He has to check out big time in 3 and 4.
It was Jaron Weinmaster that was slow on the apron. Looks like he just exited the pit lane after an unscheduled pit stop. So if it's Jaron Weinmaster way down the order, and he currently sits P23. as side by side for second. It's Freenage versus Agnell Phillip, and Phillip to the inside. How about Kevin King? Here he comes back in the lead battle, and here he comes 3 wide for second. Kevin King knows he might have the car to beat, and just like that, Nolan, he was knocking on the door of the lead battle and just blew it right open to second for the 31.
It's a very late decision to go 3 wide as well down the back straightaway. A risky one at that. Luckily, Phillip and Freenage both realized what was going on, so they were able to keep it pinned up to the outside line. Now, it'll be Kevin King clear to run down San Diego, but he has to be careful. You just witnessed what happened to Andrew Freenage. Sorry, what happened to Everhard, but he pushed too hard in a very good run. So Kevin King has to make sure that history does not repeat itself. Remember that old adage, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Kevin King, he seems to be on the charge though, already building up about a 4-car length gap over Agnell Phillip.
Yeah, look at Cody Harris right here coming off of that win last week. He fell back just a tad bit. He's up now 7 positions, cracks the top 5, makes it a lockout of the top 5 playoff drivers right here. And I want to circle back to our playoff talk here for just a second. I think this is your championship 4 right here. And I'm going to take Freenage out. That's my 1 out. I say championship 4 goes Nieto, King, Phillip, and Harris. That's the 4 that make it. I'm even going to kick Matt Danson out just in case, you know, something happens catastrophically at the road course, but he's probably going to win it. But I think that could be your top 4. If something magical happens and strategy's played at the Roval, and for some figment of imagination, he doesn't win that race, that's your top 4. And then, once again, that is barring Matt Danson not winning Charlotte Roval.
I don't want to put Danson out of the top 4, and it's not even because of the Charlotte Roval in this round. It's because he can win at Texas, Dega, or the Roval. And then he can go out and win Vegas, Homestead, or Martinsville in the next round, in the round of 8 as well. He can win at Phoenix. He can win at any track we put him on. I don't think I can keep him out of my championship 4, but I agree, Nieto and King. I agree. I don't know if I do agree on Agnell Phillip. I know I agree on Matt Danson, and I think I agree on Andrew Freenage too.
I can say that Matt Danson can win anywhere, but has he shown the speed tonight? Has he shown the speed that it's going to take to go up there and challenge Nieto, challenge King, Freenage, Harris? They're moving forward. Matt Danson's kind of just sitting here, and I know I doubted him before. I doubted him after his win at Michigan. I doubted him at Kansas. I don't want to doubt him, but I think barring him, if he does not win at the Charlotte Roval, he's the 1 out, because you see everybody else is outperforming him in that top 5. And while he might be able to go up there and do it later on in the race, right now he's not showing it to me. So at lap 66, I would say he's one of my outs.
I don't know, Nolan. I don't know. Danson's been really, really fast, and he's still keeping up tonight as we have a side-by-side battle for the lead. Well, we did. Not anymore. Kevin King right back to the lead in 3 and 4.
Kevin King scrambling up into the race lead. He has got him past San Diego, and I can guarantee you right now, San Diego, he let him have that one as he actually hit the brakes on the back straightaway, did not want to waste time fighting it out with Kevin King. He saw it coming, and he decided to make it happen. Got a couple of cars I see coming down to pit road, particularly that of Brandon Bowie, and it looked like a bit deeper in the field. The number 1 of Gary Sexton as well, making a late call to come into the pit road.
Not a bad call. I mean, it's right on the money. It's a little early, but it's there. You can make this pit stop happen. You can make it work. You'll gain the time delta back at some point in time, but this is the longest green flag run we've seen. So can we continuously see this happen over time? They were not losing a whole lot. They were still competitive. But when do the leaders pit? When does one of the top 5, one of the heavy hitters come down pit road?
You mentioned, Terry, they can pit every 42 laps. Well, they're about 37 on the stint counter right now. But considering the fact that they pitted on lap 30, they're going to have to stretch it a little bit more. Everybody in this field pitted at lap 30. And now we've got drivers coming in early, the likes of Brandon Bowie, the likes of Gary Sexton, that are both now 1 lap down. 2 non-playoff drivers as well that kind of going with a bit of an oddball strategy. Both of them with 2 stops as well, meaning they use 2 sets of their tires. They only have 2 left to try and stretch a little under 100 laps.
I mean, they're non-playoff drivers, so what do they have to lose? I mean, the playoff drivers are probably going to stretch these sets to probably about lap 45, lap 48, maybe go to 50 on them, just to kind of put themselves in a safe ballpark that they can pit a little later in the last stint so they can get the fresh out of them and drive it a little harder.
Well, as we stand right now, none of our playoff drivers have hit the pit lane under the green flag. Everybody still last time down pit road was during the last caution period as Joseph Tice continues to throw a monkey wrench into this playoff group at the front. It would be 8 playoff drivers strong in the top 8. However, that number 5 of Joseph Tice has shown promising speed all night long, Nolan, and he sits now in 7th as Matt Danson goes for 6 to the inside and 1.
Making that spot up in turn of 1, or at least attempting to, as Joseph Tice trying to get out in front of Matt Danson. Danson, though, going to hang on for the 6th spot here down in the turns 3 and 4. Connor Horn wants to get into the party as well. He tries to capitalize on the 5 car being up high. Oh, Tice gets sideways off of turn 4 and has to gather it up. That causes Connor Horn to back out of the Bernadette Lytics Chevrolet.
That was close. I'm telling you, this racing looks really fun. I kind of wish that I was out there throwing some laps down with these drivers. You see side by side everywhere. You're starting to see loose. Oh no, caution's out. Oh no, that's, who is that? The 19?
Eric Stanford.
No!
Eric Stanford around in turn 1. What happened in this single car incident, top of the racing line that brought out the yellow flag? Is the 19 of Stanford, who we haven't heard much from all night long.
Oh.
He got loose through the grass.
Big loose.
From there, Nolan, he's along for the ride here. Has no control over that car. He's back on the Dylan Jones with nowhere to go.
Dylan Jones got absolutely clotheslined. That has destroyed the 0-2 car, as well as Eric Stanford. I think there's no doubt about that one. Stanford is the driver that's at fault for that one, but nothing claimed just yet. On board with Jones. There's just nothing you can do there. I mean, you're expecting the guy in the grass to stay to the bottom line. He's well off the racetrack. Just out of left field, though, comes back up the track, and you're the one that ends up getting caught in the middle. That immediately ripped both left side wheels off of that 0-2 car, ending his race.
No surprise, Josh. Everybody is down pit lane right here, except obviously this throws a wrench in Brandy Bowie, Gary Sexton, some of those drivers that came down pit lane, Sean Kalist, they're trapped a lap down and they'll get the the wave around here.
Everybody on the lead lap works their way into the pit lane, and where they are right now, with the laps to go, they can really cut this final run in half if they have to. And if they do, they will have just 1 set of tires left to use. Everybody here in this group that we're taking a look at now have only pitted once this race, and King will win the race off pit road. Agno Phillip, Sam Nieto, Andrew Freenage, and I think Matt Danson is going to end up grabbing the 5th spot away from Cody Harris. He does. So now, everybody in this lead group have pitted twice. The only exception is going to be Eric Papineau, who has pitted 3 times. So we can assume that all of our playoff drivers especially, and everybody within the top 16 right now, have 2 sets of tires remaining for a little around 94 laps remaining, which is a decent amount of tires. As Terry mentioned, Nolan, they can pit every 42 laps, so they'd have to stretch it to about 47 to make it last all the way to the end, but they can stretch to about 47 on fuel, especially, and they can on tires. Texas not really known as that much of a tire wear track, and it seems like the drivers weren't losing too much time, especially through turns 3 and 4 on that last run once the Goodyear started to wear a little bit.
The problem is that while the lap times aren't that much affected, the grip levels definitely are. And you can see that by how much more these drivers are having to really twitch that back end out as they were trying to push hard when you got later and later into a run. So Texas recently has become quite the track where tire wear can really come back to bite you in a big way. Not on the lap time side of things, but definitely over on the grip end side of things. And even then, I mean, you had in just that first stint from lap 1 all the way up to about lap 28, a 1.4 second drop off on Kevin King's last stint. That was per lap. On this latest run, it was a 30.7 or so that Kevin King was running on lap 36. The last lap before the yellow flag was a 32-second lap time as well. So that's, again, another second drop off. Pretty major stuff when it comes to the oval side of things. Maybe not so much on the road courses, but on the ovals, that 1 second, that is everything when it comes to draft.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see. I think this is going to be a big track position type style race, and towards the end, you'll see a little bit more aggression. If the race plays itself out the way that it's been going so far, we've seen a caution around 35 to 45 laps is when drivers start to get a little bit more loose on the rear, and you get off the exit of the corner, the tires want to slide. It's hot out here on this racetrack. The surface is lifted, the sun's beating down on it, and while people go, oh, well, it's virtual. Yeah, but iRacing did a really good job with the physics, and the more they allow the sun to beat down on it, the oil start to roll to the top, it's going to get a little bit more slippery right here.
Lights out on the iRacing pace car. 2 drivers take to their wave arounds. That looks to be Gary Sexton and Brandon Bowie. As we get ready to go back to racing, lap number 76 of 167, closing in on that halfway mark in just about 4 or 5 laps time, as Kevin King still leads the way. Agno Phillip on the outside, Sam Nieto, Andrew Freenage on row 2. It's Cody Harris and Matt Danson row 3. We continue to Connor Horn, playoff driver in the 67. Then you find the first non-playoff driver, and all night the first non-playoff driver has been the 5 of Joseph Tice. Can he get up to the front and make waves as a non-playoff driver winning in the playoffs? We've seen it in the real world with the NASCAR Cup Series the last couple of weeks. We have not seen it yet in the 2022 playoffs for the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. We'll see if we see it tonight at Virtual Texas, but the playoff driver, Kevin King, has been borderline unbeatable tonight. Let's see if he'll beat Agno Phillip on this restart as well. Field to work their way off of turn number 4. Pace car back into the safety of the pit lane. And once again, for the second time tonight, we will go back underway in a restart. And we are underway again, closing in on halfway done, and Kevin King is going to get another perfect restart. Agno Phillip set to battle Sam Nieto as the 2 tries to look to the inside through 1.
Watching the inside of 1. Meanwhile, Danson's up on top. We're almost 3 wide already as they dash out of the back straightaway. Danson's going to switch back. And the out of the bumper down to the turns 3 and 4 as well. It's calamity here at the front of the field on this restart as we hightail it up to turn 4 down the front straightaway.
Hey, you got to get it when the getting's good. You can't sit there and wait for a hole to open. Sometimes you just got to take it. And there's no sense in it. You see right there, Agno Phillip took it right in front of Connor Horn. I'm not too sure Connor Horn is the one that I'm going to force my nose down there on, because he's not lifting it. It's the same thing with Sam Nieto. He wasn't going to lift. Cody Harris wasn't going to lift. Battle for the lead. Nieto goes to the bottom. He's going to take it easily over the 31 of Kevin King.
Nieto with an aggressive move for the race lead, but it works out. Put Nieto to the point again with Cody Harris now knocking on the door and trying to bust it down from Kevin King. Side by side further back, and to the outside line goes the 88 of Freenage, trying to find the inside, but Matt Danson is there. How about the top 7? All playoff drivers, and then Joseph Tice in between, and almost all playoff driver top 10 as they get aggressive into 3 side by side, still with Tice leading the outside line. He'll slide in front of Matt Danson for 7th.
It's a tight field at the moment as we continue to race it out. Connor Horn to the inside, trying to defend Andrew Freenage and also trying to make up the move on Agno Phillip, but Phillip slams the door shut. All of this is allowing Sam Nieto to build a gap further and further out in front while they continue to race like it's the last lap deeper in the field. Still got everybody going left, right, front, and center. Nobody's willing to give anybody else an inch of room to sort themselves out.
it's something that I noticed there on that last restart and on this one as well. Nieto's had a very, very good short run fire off speed car. You know, he's walked out to about a 5/10 of a second gap on the field, and then once they get single file back out, they start to reel it back in. But Kevin King hasn't had that. He's lost spots. He lost spots on the initial restart when he fell back and he missed his pit stall, and then it took him a little bit to gain that momentum back up, to go back up through the field, but he did it, you know, nonchalantly, just passed people 3 wide, didn't really care. But you see the intensity's lifted here. It's back up. Look at Freenosh to the outside, and Brandon Six is going to try to follow suit here off the 2.
Kevin King falling like a rock on the inside line as well, as he's gotten passed by Tice Harris. Freenosh now 6. Can Agnell Phillip get by the 31 as trying to get further into the top 5? That's Andrew Freenosh from 4th, as now single file through the entire top 10 as they continue to try and find any way to get passes done here at Texas. Leading the way, Sam Nieto in the 2. How about Joseph Tice? He has been the main driver outside of the playoffs that has been so fast all night long, Nolan. And how about that number 5 as he looks for race win number 1. 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, nothing in the win column. He has every opportunity to try and get the race win tonight.
And still looking for that inside lane.
Down the back straightaway, still that battle for the lead continues as Tice giving a ton of pressure to Sam Nieto in the 2 right now. And they continue to pull away as now Harris leads a super speedway type line that I think we'd see at Talladega next week. Terry is side by side for the race lead. Here comes Tice to the point.
Yeah, Tice finally takes the point, man. He's been running really, really strong all race long, and this is no surprise. He was fast in practice. He was fast in qualifying. He's been the non-playoff leader all race long. He's been up there in the top 5, top 3, fighting it out with these boys. Where did Kevin King go? But who woke Tice up? Because Tice came to play lap 86. He leads for the first time here at Texas. Can he close this out and pull a Tyler Reddick of last night and win this race?
As we go over halfway done in this race, 82 laps to go. We'll go through a midway race break presented by Kalis Synthetics. It's Joseph Tice that now leads the way over an aggressive Sam Nieto side by side for 3rd. That's Andrew Freenosh on the outside, Cody Harris on the inside. Agnell Phillip will be P5 with Brandon Six in 6th. Kevin King in 7th. He's to the inside of Ross Cato in the 12th. Another non-playoff driver who will pass King for 7th along the outside. Grant Davis in 9th, and Connor Horn is going to round out the top 10.
11th place is going to be that number 31 car of, make that 38 car back. Danson, big crossed up here on my end. Nick Silver down in 12th place. If he started way back in 21st. Started in the top 10 for Tom Wetmore, but he's at the moment struggling to maintain speed in 13th. Michael Johnson is in 14th. William Schmidt is 15th. Sean Castro is 16th. Renata Major has gone 23rd to 17th. Brandon Bowie 22nd to 18th. Brandon Fetterplace is in 19th. Gary Saxon has dropped all the way from 9th place at the start of this race down to 20th.
You get Eric Papano back here in 21st. Sean Kalis 22nd. Michael Araya 23rd. Brian Chambliss 24th. Eric Stanford, who was involved in the incident there a little earlier, in 25th. Dylan Jones swept up in an incident. He's 26th. Jaron Wymaster, Daniel Everhart, Tim Johnson, and Mike Kaczynski rounds out your 30, or Tom Morano back there in 31st rounds out your 31 car field.
And that concludes our Kalis Synthetics midway race break. Kalis Synthetics is an independent dealer of AmSoil lubricants serving the United States and Canada, providing custom engine lubrication solutions to all types of customers, ranging from private individuals to race teams, hauling fleets, and everyone in between. They have the products and expertise to help you save time and money. Dealer number 300717815. completing now lap number 90 in this race from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Joseph Tice leads the way, Joshua Lee alongside Nolan Rempel and Terry Radford in the booth. 78 to go, boys, and this race, I think we came into tonight not expecting something too interesting, but I think it's been anything but interesting as we have a non-playoff driver in the lead and the dominating car all night stuck P6.
And in fact, still stuck in that 6th place as he continues to try to work his way up. But you see the 24 car getting all sorts of cross stuff down the back. Huge block for Brandon 6. Connor Horn's not having anything up as he's going to shoot to the inside. 6 is still loose, going to get run over. Takes out Ross Cato into the outside wall. Big crash at Texas. 4, 5, 6 cars involved. They're still wrecking down the pit road.
Danson's in it, Johnson's in it, Sean Casto is in it. A lot of playoff drivers caught up in that one, Terry, and that might be the Texas big one.
I almost cussed on Race Spot. I don't think that would have went too well, but holy crap. What happened? You saw a wild block, and I said it before, I'll say it again. There's one person on this racetrack I'm not throwing a block on. That's Connor Horn. He doesn't care. He's not lifting. You see the block right here down the back straightaway. The 67 Horn tried to get it. 66 and 6 blocked him. He pushes him up the racetrack into 3. It looks like the 66 trying to turn back down. Danson gets popped, and then he gets turned into the back end of him. The 39 goes around. Benazzi Major gets in it. Cato's in it. Holy cow. That was massive. That was nothing but playoff drivers, really.
Sean Casto, a late addition to this wreck. Let's see what happened for the 52. He's on the inside, and I think he just runs in, or he ran into the pits and runs in. There's Benazzi Major in the 82 trying to get out of the way of this group. And there was more playoff drivers involved. I'm wondering how Michael Johnson got his portion of that wreck because he was just down on the inside, I think trying to avoid this entire incident, and just with no banking down there, Nolan lost the car and ended up getting involved in the incident. There's Matt Danson, huge front end damage for him, and yeah, the 39 got to the inside and lost it, hit Benazzi Major, and around they went, and Michael Johnson doesn't look like a ton of damage for him, but still, that was a good 4 to 5 playoff drivers involved in this wreck.
And you also saw Brandon Bowie in a similar situation as Michael Johnson went to the inside, got loose, but he overcorrected and took a pretty significant hit to the outside wall. I gotta be honest, I'm still struggling to figure out the logic. I mean, I understand throwing a block like that late in the race, but you still got almost half the race to go. I'm not sure what kind of mind state you gotta be in to think that that's a smart move to make. I know that sounds harsh, but I mean, lap 93 of 167, is this really the time to be throwing blocks from the wall to the apron like that? I don't think so.
Not so fast, my beautiful friend Nolan. I'm throwing a block regardless what lap it is here at Texas. Hey, you saw it from lap 3 where Kevin King threw the block there on Nieto. Throw him, because if you get past, you're watching it right here with Kevin King in 6th place. He dropped back to 7th. Well, we've been under green for like 15 laps. He hasn't made very many positions back up because it's hard to pass here. You have to make the pass happen. You have to get somebody in the corner. You have to wash them up the track. This kind of reminds me of this car at this track of old Bristol back in the 90s when you really had to work somebody up off the groove. Or you got to destroy your tires on the outside and gun it off of 3 and 4, drive it deep into 1 and 2. This is going to get a little bit more hairy before this is over.
This puts us under only our 3rd yellow flag of the night, just over halfway done and just shy of 100 laps down in this race. 74 to go. Joseph Tice leads the way, a non-playoff driver in the lead. And how about those championship standings now? Brandon 6 with that block, Nolan, is now outside of the cut line, and I think we keep going back to it. That is not the smartest move by the 66 with this much time left in this race. And now look at those points. It puts him out, it puts Casto out, it puts Michael Johnson out. And you have to think Johnson and Casto just getting caught up in somebody else's mess. I don't think they're going to be too happy when we go to Talladega next week.
I don't think so either. I mean, if there's ever a race where you don't want to be safe entering, the next run of the playoffs, it is the Talladega Super Speedway. It's any plate track for that matter. You just cannot afford to have like these kinds of threats looming over your head on such a volatile, unpredictable racetrack.
I mean, you have to think that you want to put yourself in a position to not have to worry about Talladega. So I kind of understand where Brandon Six was coming from there. Is why would you put yourself in a position that you know that you have to go into Dega and win? If you make up that position there, you keep that position, you have a better opportunity to win. Your chances get better the higher up you are on this grid to potentially win this race. I mean, sometimes you throw the block, you play the game. He played the game, took a couple people with him, and you see it flip-flopping between Casto and Horn and Johnson, all of those spots back there. It's wide open because most of them are severely damaged still on pit road.
Field getting ready to go back to racing in what we originally thought was going to be a pretty mundane, pretty easy start to the playoffs. I think Virtual Texas has really shown us exactly what we were in for. But Joseph Tice leads the way. It'll be Sam Nieto in second, and Tice has chosen the outside line for this restart, so put the 5 upstairs to begin this run with Nieto, Phillip, Harris, King, Farinar, Silver behind. Everybody, 6 cars behind the 5 are playoff drivers. That 5 of Joseph Tice is not, but he leads us back to the stripe and back to the green flag as Tice will get a solid lead over Sam Nieto into 1. Everybody fans out, heading through the first couple of corners, and through the opening 2, it'll be one driver way to the outside trying to avoid any possible incident, and Tice leading the way.
That was a really good restart from Tice in the 5, and it allowed the 2 of Nieto to get right up behind him, work their way a little bit in front of Phillip to not let the dirty air kind of disrupt the back end of this car. Cody Harris putting himself back there. King went back to the top 5. You see 3 wide. Almost was a wreck right there. I believe that's the 24 and the 4 of Nick Silver. And don't forget, there goes William Smith. Here comes Tom Wetmore, who was involved in that incident a little while ago. This could get a little bit more volatile right here.
6 playoff drivers in the top 7, but they're all following the 5 of Joseph Tice. 3 wide for a moment there. Sexton caught on the inside line. He sits P9 now, almost P8 as he tries to get by William Schmidt for that spot. Put the 1 further into the top 10. You mentioned him early on. Terry is one of the drivers to watch. Well, here comes your pick outside through turn 1. Give the spot to Gary Sexton for 7th. Give it to him for 6th. What a move to the outside line in 1 and 2.
Use them tires, Gary. I'm telling you, I watched him in Monday Night Racing. I watched him come over here to Kansas in RSR competition. Had a really good showing. Qualified well, ran up front with them. Had a little bit of an issue when it came to a couple other spots, but across the board, Josh, he has been a very good competitive racer here in this series. I really wish that he would have been here full time, because I could have then said, I would put Gary Sexton in the conversation. He's a race winner in Monday Night Racing. He's a race winner in many other leagues that he joins. I would have put him in the championship conversation because of how consistent he is. And you see him here. He's on first. Oh no, Joseph Tice! Hold on to her!
Joseph Tice loose off a 4. As now, Tice is going to lose the race lead, fall to 10th. He's continuing to fall. Casto to the outside. Tom Wetmore's there as well. What happened to the race leader all night long? He has been fast, and one mistake has put him outside the top 10. They were side by side for 3rd. Did Tice lose it on his own? He did. We've seen so many drivers do it off of 4, Terry, and we just saw it from the 5.
It looks like he caught that bump that's kind of down there when he went to turn in, get the run off. He caught something, unsettled the car, and that's tough because now it lets him, and now here comes Gary Sexton. Let's go, my pick to the lead.
Gary Sexton in the one. You mentioned it, Terry, calling him in Monday Night Racing. I remember calling him in the MSRA Premier Series with you last year.
That's
he
right.
was very fast there too, and now he leads the way in RSR competition. He has 0 recorded wins in Real Sim Racing competition. He has competed in a couple of races this year, and I believe has starts from last year as well, but he raced at Kansas, ended up having to disconnect from that race. He ran at Bristol, a solid run, but ended up finishing outside the top 10 in 13th. And right now, tire strategy puts him to the front with 9-lap-old tires compared to everybody else in the field at 28. Sean Casto is the only other driver on Gary Sexton's strategy, as he now has 9 laps on his Goodyears.
Not gonna lie to you, if this race stays green, which I hope that it does, because obviously my pick will, do what he does. He ran a 30.21. That was the fastest lap of the race. So he's got speed in that one machine. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, with 19 lap pressure tires in the field, it's a little bit of a, ha ha ha, look at me, I'm out here. But he's stretched this to a 2.5 and growing second lead. Race stays green here, and they come down pit lane one more time. I don't think anybody's going to be able to make that time up, and we could see a first-time winner in RSR competition.
How about those stick numbers that everybody can see on the Kalis Synthetics timing tower right now? Those are the laps since the last time they came down into the pit lane. Sexton, 11 laps. Bowie, 10 laps. Sean Casto, playoff driver, also at 10 laps. How about Connor Horn and Matt Danson, 2 other playoff drivers that pitted under the last caution and are on the same strategy as these drivers. The difference is, for Danson and Horn, Terry, they seem to be really saving as much rubber as they can. Danson's in a battle with Joseph Tice, kind of taking it easy. Tice is on 31-lap-old tires, Danson on 12-lap-old tires. Obviously, the 38 of Danson is going to have the biggest advantage over the 5, but look at the struggle that Matt Danson had getting around Joseph Tice. He's not trying to wear any of those tires down, trying to save them for as long as he can.
He's got damage as well. We saw him get caught up. He nose packed the back end of a car. He got packed in the butt there by Tom Wetmore. So there's a little bit of a disadvantage for that 38 machine as you see the battle for second heat up here on this racetrack. As it's a 4-second lead for Gary Sexton. He's doing his own thing. But what I'm kind of concerned with, if I look at the 38 machine here, that damage is not going to help you. The damage is going to continue to be like a parachute back there. And if he, gets out of line one time, if he steps up the racetrack, that could spell a little bit of trouble, because he's going to need the draft and a ton of it here as he stays back here on the 51 just to continuously stay with this pack.
Matt Danson, 14th. Connor Horn, who is also on that same strategy as the drivers that pitted under the last yellow flag. He sits P12 right now. Not looking too aggressive as he goes to the back bumper of Grant Davis. But Gary Sexton going aggressive since he came in under the last pit stop. And aggressive is an understatement, Terry. 4.5 seconds right now, that gap. And Brandon Bowie's starting to catch up as well. He was eliminated in the last round of the playoffs in the 34. Ran into some issues earlier in the race in that number 34 Toyota Camry. But new tires on that machine, 14 laps old, and put Bowie to second place and 2 playoff drivers to the top 2 spots.
And that's what I love about this right here, is you're racing against non-playoff guys. And you don't see that in the NFL, you don't see it in baseball, you don't see it in hockey, but here in NASCAR, you see drivers that have nothing to lose. Gary Sexton has only been here for maybe 5 races. He has barely painted the walls here in RSR, but he leads this race. He led at Kansas as well, and before the strategy kind of, folded under him and the caution came out. But could we see the tide change? Could we see the caution stay in Barney's little pit area up there where he's at and keep it green the rest of the way? Because this strategy between Bowie and Sexton, if Bowie can step away, this is a 1-2 finish. They're going to 2-step their way into a bar somewhere.
Remember who else is on that strategy? Connor Horn, the 67's on the move. He goes up to P8. Horn and Casto on the same strategy now meet each other 7th and 8th. They are two playoff drivers as well, as Sexton leads 4.7 seconds. Nieto not going to reel in Brandon Bowie by that much. Nieto's main competitor behind is going to be Agnell Phillip in that 94. It's going to be the 31 of Kevin King. 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all with 37 lap roll tires. And we can add Cody Harris into that mix as well, but you can throw a blanket right now over 3rd, 4th, and 5th as they stand right now, separated by not a ton of time as Kevin King goes to the inside on Agnell Phillip off of 4.
Phil got a little bit crossed up on the exit of turn number 4 there, and that'll allow for Kevin King to sneak up the inside as Phillip left the hole, and Kevin King was eager to fill it. Sean Casto, meanwhile, you see him working the outside of Cody Harris, trying to pick up 6th spot as well. Oh, contact back there as well. Connor Horn's going to force it 3 wide as Harris just barely escapes major crash there with Sean Casto.
Yeah, he barely got out of that, but you see a lot of these drivers starting to get in that range. We talked about this on the last caution. We haven't ran 40 plus laps without the caution coming out because it has been absolutely unbearable for these drivers on these tires, and I would expect in the next 10 to 15 laps these drivers who are back here fighting from second on back to come down pit lane. And by the way, somebody woke the giant back up because Kevin King, now leading your playoff drivers from P3, those tires starting to equal themselves out. He was faster than the race leader, but he was not faster than Brandon Bowie.
Remember, Gary Sexton, not a part of the playoffs, on fresh tires, leads by 4.6 seconds. Brandon Bowie, also not in the playoffs, is now that cut line becomes really interesting. With Matt Danson and Nick Silver tied right now, Kevin King, of course, the top of the playoff drivers, currently leads the way. And Sam Nieto, Connor Horn, they continue to fight as well, with Horn just at 1 point off of Nieto for second, but well and away, good above the cut line. Michael Johnson, Michael Araya, Brandon Six, all involved in differing incidents. Johnson and Six involved in the same incident, with Michael Araya having connection issues to start the race. All of them still running on the racetrack. Brandon Six, 22 laps down now in 24th, and he's actually not running on the racetrack. He is sitting in the pit lane, and again, we talk about the move that he made to try and keep cars behind him, and contact with Connor Horn pushed him up the racetrack and collecting a handful of other drivers with him. And I think it's safe to say Nolan now, he's going to be in a must-win situation at Talladega and the Roval after that move in 3.
Connor Horn shoots to the inside of Kevin King as he continues to try to make up more time, and Brandon Bowie washes up and wide as he clipped off the apron at 1 and 2. Bowie will lose 2 spots, move Connor Horn now up into second, but that is still 4.5 seconds back from Gary Sexton, who is so far up the road. It's a question as to whether this guy is going to be able to run him down or not. I think they're going to need something big to happen, though, if that's going to happen at this point.
If we could put the points back up for a second, I wanted to see, I saw something interesting and I had to turn my eye down. My AC has managed to die in my house. Look who's on the cut line right there with Nick Silver. Matt Danson, caught up in somebody else's mess, puts him 8th at 327 with Nick Silver sitting at 327 as well. If Nick Silver passes Andrew Freenage on this cycle of green flag pit stops, if that was to occur, Matt Danson's out. Going into the most unpredictable race of the season in Talladega, where the stakes are high and the aggression's going to be even higher. These non-playoff drivers are not going to care. They're going to see a checkered flag. They're going to be aggressive on the blocks. They're going to be aggressive on strategies. They're going to be aggressive with pushes. Matt Danson does not want to go into Talladega sitting there on that cut line, sweating it out, hoping that the luck goes his way at the Charlotte Roval.
Andrew Freenage gets by the number 52 of Sean Casto. That will add a point to Andrew Freenage, take away a point from Sean Casto, both of them being playoff drivers. I mentioned Michael Johnson involved in that incident. Not a ton of damage to that number 39. He just kind of lost it trying to avoid the incident going down onto the apron. Well, he now sits in P16 and trying to gain a good bit of those points back, and is currently doing that as he sits on the lead lap and trying to catch catch up now to Joseph Tice, who's about 1.1 seconds up the road. And speaking of Joseph Tice, Nolan, lost it coming off of turn number 4, and since then just really hasn't been able to recover. I mean, outside of the lead, I mean, we've seen him rally back up, get through the field, but right now, 48 to go, just seems to be stuck with a lot of dirty air in front. And oh, he's still loose coming off of turn number 4, coming off of turn 2. That number 5 machine is upset, and it doesn't look like that he is going. He doesn't look happy in the car, and his car certainly doesn't look happy.
He certainly does, and I don't think anybody's cars at the moment. I don't think anybody's cars at this point look terribly happy with each other, as everybody's getting loose at this point in time. That's just what the tire wear at Texas Motor Speedway tends to do. These hot track temperatures, though, well, I was about to say hot track temperatures. That's what I assumed the problem was. How about 90 degrees, though, Fahrenheit for the track temp? So I don't think it's the hot track temperatures. I'm going to be completely honest. Potentially something to do with the wind, 10 miles an hour to the southeast. That's definitely a higher wind speeds than these guys are used to dealing with, but I don't think it's so bad that they would be getting to the point where they're as loose as they saw here. That's just the product of Texas, and it's a problem with the tires. We saw the same thing happening during the Cup race just yesterday, and I can guarantee you right now, it's one of the same situations that's happening right here, only admittedly not to such the scale that we had seen on Sunday.
Well, you got to think also with the physics of the cars, and while it's not as identical as what you would think it would be in real life, it's pretty darn close with the way iRacing scanned these cars and the way that the model actually works with them. You see a little contact there between Freenage and Cody Harris. You saw it with the Brandon Six incident where he went up the racetrack, tried to throw the block, got shoved into 3, and then worked his way back down. The moment you made that quick little jerk reaction that he tried there on the steering wheel, it actually felt like it kind of snapped just a tad bit. And with the individual steering, the racket pinion steering that they've had on these cars, that has a hard time. It has a hard time adjusting to quick movements on the steering wheel, as you hear the throttle there on the 31 of Kevin King. While the tires might be heating up on the rear, the track temp could cause a little factor in that one. It's a variable of all. You got the crappy grooves on the racetrack, you got the bumps on the bottom. It's just, I mean, all around, the Texas Motor Speedway is a difficult, crappy track.
I like that addition at the end there. You just had to slip it in.
You have to. You have to. I mean, I wish they would dig this track up and throw it away.
We all know Terry Radford's thoughts on virtual and real Texas Motor Speedway, but something I noticed there through 3 and 4, Sam Nieto, I think, touched the apron, or touched the white line, something. He got really, really loose just for a split second, and that pushed him back into the 94 of Agno Phillip. And how about the 92 working his way up through the field as well? And the 12, excuse me, that's Ross Cato, 11 laps down, fresher tires than majority of this group, so he's going to try and breeze past these drivers. And some pit stops we missed, Joseph Tice into the pit lane, fresh tires on that number 5, 19th, 1 lap down, but fresh pair of shoes, Nolan. That number 5 is going to try and stretch those for 42 laps.
And well, according to Terry's math, that can work for him. He's just got to hope, though, that he makes up enough time in the clean air that he's able to make up some spots when all these other guys potentially come down to pit road as well. You've still got Gary Sexton now 2.6 seconds clear, but the gap is starting to close on in. Connor Horn, he's going to be all over the back of him before too long at this rate. Every single corner, Gary Sexton loses more and more time. Connor Horn starting to really reel in that gap, but now Horn, you see him starting to go defensive. That's not helping the 67's case as well as he tries to run down Sexton for the race lead.
It's like I know what I'm talking about when I come call these races. Like, you know, I do some practice before we get out here and we call these shows. And a little math also helps you, so thank Bond for the homeschool there of the math. But, you know, it just it's playing into Gary Sexton's hands. While Connor Horn's starting to catch him, here you go see Raleigh Grant Davis coming down pit lane. If I'm Gary Sexton, if I could sit in his shoes for 20 seconds in his head and say, I'm pitting at lap with 38, 39 to go. I'm pitting, not this time by, but next time by, I'm coming down pit lane. Because then you over jump them, and Connor Horn's not going to have time to react to you. Kevin King's not going to have time to react to you. Neither will Bowie or Nieto. So jump them. They have taken forever to catch you, my man. come pit now while you're still in a 2-second gap. You're about 2/10 slower than them at the moment. Why not? Throw caution to the wind, pull some Jeff Hardy stuff, jump off the ladder.
Sexton continues to lead the way, trying to go for RSR win number 1. He has had some solid finishes in the past. I'm looking at a handful of top 5s, handful of top 3s. He competed part-time in the 2020 campaign, also competed at least once in the IROC campaign back in 2020, and competed in, it looks like 2 starts only in the 2021 campaign, and then only 2 starts so far this season in the 2022 campaign. But where he sits right now, might have the best opportunity since 2020 to walk away with an RSR victory, and he would be the Tyler Reddick, he would be the Bubba Wallace, he would be an Eric Jones that would win in the playoffs but not be a playoff driver. We've seen it plenty in the real world so far, 4 in a row there. We haven't seen it yet in Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series.
Well, we certainly haven't seen it yet. But hey, this series, and in fact this season as a whole, has been a first time for firsts all across the board. And now,
there he comes.
Be seeing another one here today. Gary Sexton into pit road, gives Connor Horn the race lead. And now we'll be able to see where in relation to Gary Sexton does Joseph Tice come out in all of this.
I think Joseph Tice, he was a little bit too far back. While it's been a couple laps for Tice to be on this racetrack, he was running consistent lap times. He was running at 30.3. I think he's going to be close to him, if not just a little bit in front of him, but Gary Sexton should be able to pass him. I don't know if he's listening or not, or somebody's feeding him that one. That was great strategy, because this race looks to be staying green. Hopefully he doesn't get caught, sleeping on pit road when the caution, if the caution does come out. But it looks like he's exiting pit road now. Joseph Tice is going to pass him here, but he's damaging his tires on that outside, trying to work his way through here. This is going to be a fun show between 2 non-playoff drivers.
So Joseph Tice is going to lead by a couple of seconds over now Eric Papanow and Grant Davis, who sit between Gary Sexton and Joseph Tice. But Tice, Papanow, and Davis all with older tires. As Manazzi Major now going to go 1 lap down, he's going to get stuck in the pit lane here. So that's really going to create an interesting dynamic of the drivers that have already pitted. And you can see the tire difference is already starting to come into play. Grant Davis only about a half second to Gary Sexton, and there is that number 1 Toyota Camry, just about a half second back from Grant Davis, and starting to close as well, as 1 lap old tires for Sexton, 5 lap old tires for Davis, 11 lap old tires for Papanow, and 10 lap old tires for Joseph Tice. If there's anything we have learned tonight, Nolan, as Joseph Tice gets his lap back from the battling Connor Horn and Kevin King for the race lead, it is that the tires do wear at this track, and once they start to wear over, the difference in tire wear and the difference in tire life becomes very, very apparent.
More and more as we get closer and closer to the end of this race, and as more and more drivers start to cycle their way down to the pit road. I think Gary Sexton has the right idea when it comes to going for that undercut here, because already we saw Joseph Tice with his attempt at an undercut as Kevin King way up the hill, Brandon Williams way down the hill. Looks like both of them got a little bit upset at different points in the corner, and they just happened to scramble in the different directions. Santana's going to go around the outside. Back to what I was mentioning before, Gary Sexton, I mean, he's got himself, 3 cars at about a quarter of the track between himself and Joseph Tice, who pitted several laps earlier.
Yeah, this is going to come down to who wants it more. And I honestly can't really tell who wants it more, because you saw Joseph Tice, what he was able to do there. He got up there to the outside of these race leaders and really hung it out there. Gary Sexton's going anywhere he sees asphalt. He goes to the bottom, he'll go to the top. He's about to pass Eric Papanow here in that 37 machine. He'll work with it for a second as they go to get around Agnell Phillip on the outside. That is not for position, that is to potentially get their lap back. But now you see Raleigh Grant Davis snuck his way up here, saw that Sexton and Papanow had a little bit of an issue there, got caught up in that traffic, and now Gary Sexton is going to blow right on by the 37 try to get his lap back as he goes to Brandon Bowie's door. This is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight at Texas, and this is anything but boring.
Sam Nieto calls that he's pitting, and he goes down onto the apron in the 2 Ford Mustang. So he pits. Cody Harris will join him. It looks like Matt Danson's also in. Yes, the left sides will go up. He'll go 1 lap down as it's still Horn and King leading the way. Now Brandon Bowie in 3rd. There goes Gary Sexton right on by to get his lap back. Now, this will be the battle between Tyson Sexton. These are the 2 currently that are your net race leaders now that they have their lead back. And Tice has a solid gap over Gary Sexton right now. It sits now. Cody Harris is going to get in between them as Harris is on the pit lane, but now Sexton goes through. It's only 3.5 seconds with Sexton closing the gap. What is Kevin King going to do? What can Connor Horn do? What can Brandon Bowie do? And any one of these playoff drivers in the top 5, top 6 right now that still have a pit stop to make. They have 66 laps on some of their tires.
It is absolutely crunch time with the strategy. You have to start making these decisions, and at the moment, if you're going for the long run, you've made your bet, you got to lay it. You can't just try to go for the longs and then bail out midway through. And I think what a lot of these guys are doing is they're trying to drive their stints out long and go for the overcut. Yes, they're going to be behind, but that means they're going to be faster for the last 15 laps or so on these runs, and they are hoping they'll be able to carry enough speed that they'll be able to run down the current leaders and pick them off as the laps round down. But the problem is, I think it's just so much easier to get a massive gap and then maintain that on the short run than it is to run down one of those larger gaps little by little in the long run.
I've got my thinking pen in my hand. While I think the overcut could work to an extent, they're waiting way too long. I would have come down 3 laps ago, maybe even 4 laps ago, to try to make that strategy, to give yourself ample enough time to get your lap back, to drive back around this 1.5 mile racetrack. Yes, you are going to be running some blistering lap times, but right now, Kevin King, his last lap time by was 32.1. We'll see what it is when he comes across the timing and scoring line at the start-finish line. And he clocks in at a whopping 32 flat. Gary Sexton, Joseph Tice, 30.7. They're 2 seconds faster. And they've been 2 seconds faster consistently. And you see that gap there between what will be the net overall leaders of this race when it's all said and done. It is tight. It is less than a half a second between them, and Gary Sexton's there.
Nick Silver out of pit lane. Here comes Kevin King in. Here comes Agnell Phillip in. That'll leave Brandon Bowie, Connor Horn, and Sean Casto on the racetrack. Tom Wetmore continues to stay out. He is now on 70-lap-old tires, that number 51, as Tyson Sexton side by side through 3 and 4, and Gary Sexton is going to go to the net race lead. He clears Tice off the corner as the 5 is about to
loose.
Before he loses a good bit of a couple of tenths, but now Brandon Bowie leads the way. He still needs to pit, and Gary Sexton, pit stop already done to the end of the race, now is within the top 6.
Coming down in the pit road this time by, about to see it pop up there on your leaderboards. It's going to be Tom Wetmore as he will pit down from 4th. Lariah in right behind him. Kevin King currently leaving pit road and trying to see if he can just stay where he is, and it looks like he will be able to. So Kevin King now going to be in considerable trouble here as he's got a lot of time to run down. I don't know if he's going to have enough time though to run back down before the end of this race as the laps continue to tick away from No Limits Texas.
Oh my goodness. I mean, sitting here trying to crunch this math, you see Brandon Bowie falling off the pace just a tad bit. It's a 2-second lead right now for Gary Sexton. If I'm Gary, no sense in going all out. No sense in getting crazy with it. Don't overdrive it. Don't beat yourself. Don't do what the 5 done. Don't do what you've seen other drivers do where they work down on the bottom. They just try to charge too much speed off the exit of the corner. Just back it up. Be slow. Be concise. Just be consistent. You got 20 laps to go when you cross this line. You don't have to overdrive it. You just have to go race for the win. And my goodness, a first-time winner at Texas.
Gary Sexton has the net race lead. Bowie, Casto, Horn, and Johnson still have yet to pit. Now, if they were to try and stretch it all the way to the end, that would be about 74 laps on all of their tires. Bowie's not going to go that far. That Toyota Camry is in, so we can't expect Horn will be in soon. Casto to the outside. I can see them maybe trying to do Hail Marys here, Nolan, but Casto and Horn, same thing with Michael Johnson being playoff drivers. I don't think they can make what would be 74 laps on these tires. Tom Wedmore was the longest out of that last stint, and he went only about 71.
And this is going to be massive for a lot of the guys in this field as they continue to try to just struggle with what little they've got left. Connor Horn, Sean Casto, the last drivers that have yet to pit, and at the moment they are not wanting to pit at all. Make that Michael Johnson as well needed to come on into pit row. Connor Horn, though, and Sean Casto, those are the two to watch. Horn is clutch and coasting. I wonder if somehow he thinks he can maybe make it to the end of this race, but even if he can, he's not going to be able to fend off a charging Gary Sexton, just 15 seconds behind and closing fast.
Well, now. Watching the lap times here. I'm telling you, this is my favorite part of this race is when strategy's involved, because I get to do some math. A 32-1 for your race leader in Sean Casto. A 32-4, a 32-8 for Michael Johnson. It was only a second faster with a 31-4 for Gary Sexton there, a 31-9 for William Smith, who's got around Joseph Tice back there for the 5th place position, and in the net 2nd place, who is now 2 seconds behind Gary Sexton here for what would be the net lead if the top 3 pit. I honestly think if Connor Horn, Sean Casto, or Michael Johnson was going to make this strategy happen, you're only given a second up. And by the time Gary Sexton pushes here, if you do some quick math here, 1.5 miles and 16 puts Gary Sexton on the back bumper of Sean Casto with maybe 2 laps, 1.5 to go. This is doable.
That's also assuming the Goodyear tires can make it all the way to the end. Remember, once these tires start to wear over, the risk of blowing a tire does come into play. It also becomes the risk of possibly losing the car. Remember when the tires started to wear for, I think, a Joseph Tice, I think a Cody Harris. They started to get really, really loose on this virtual Texas Motor Speedway, an already not so grippy track with the track conditions. And we can look at the track temp being 85 degrees, a little bit cool, but still not really going to do much help to them. Not a ton of grip on this course as it is, and Michael Johnson, if he was going for a race win, that strategy's out the window. Sexton to 3rd.
Let's go.
Gary Sexton into 3rd place and still trying to close down the 2 race leaders. He still has about 13.6 seconds he has to make up on Sean Casto. 15 laps to go. This is crunch time. At this point, Connor Horn and Sean Casto have both committed to the long run. They're both trying to see if they can just make it to the end of this race. But judging by how Sean Casto is pulling out more and more of a gap over Connor Horn, I have a very strong feeling here that Casto might be a little bit more safe than Connor Horn is.
I got to be real with you here. I'm watching these lap times, and yes, Gary Sexton starting to close in. You see Manazzi Majors trying to fight the 52 down there. He's catching them, but he's not catching them fast enough. And you see it here. You see the last lap time that our wonderful producer / lead commentators putting on here for us. Casto comes across the line with the 32.4. We'll see what Gary Sexton comes across the line as. He's 2/10 slower at Connor Horn than the race leader, but it's not necessarily the fastest lap time. This is a 31.9. So yes, he's about 0.5 of a second faster, but you've got to be catching him a second. We're getting down to 12 laps to go. You're 13 seconds back. You have to start going 1.1, 1.2, maybe flatten it out at 1 just to get to the back bumper of the 52, or you have to pray for the caution and hope that the drivers behind you all come down pit lane with you.
And guys, look in the rearview mirror of Gary Sexton. Look who's there, the 2 of Sam Nieto. Remember what's on the table for him. He is a playoff driver. If he gets by Sexton, Casto and Horn both pit. That'll put Sam Nieto right into the race lead, right into a perfect spot to be able to get the race win, lock himself into the next round, and he is on 7 laps, fresher tires than Sexton. Here comes the 2 of Sam Nieto, going for the net race lead. Sexton gets aggressive into turn 3, puts the block on with 11 laps to go, this time by the stripe. Here comes Nieto, and the net race lead is going to be gone from Sexton. Nieto to the inside, he'll take it away in turn 1.
Nieto up to the 3rd position as Gary Sexton now falls down to 4th. It looks like the severe undercut that Sexton did has finally started to shrink away. Next up down the line for Sexton to lose out gains would be that of Andrew Friedrich. Still have Sean Casto showing no signs of pitting in just yet. Same story with Connor Horn. That gap is now built up to 3.8 seconds as time continues to run out. I heard a tiny bit of jittery there on the throttle that last time by from Sean Casto. He started to feather the throttle on corner exit gear, and that has started to implement how his lap times are shaking up in comparison to the driver still trying to reel him in behind.
I still think, barring a caution coming out, this race for the 52 is a virtual lock. I guess there's not very many here in RSR competition, but Casto could be looking in a prime position to win this race. Now, I think Sam Nieto could potentially catch Connor Horn because he is well off the pace. He's about a 1.3 seconds being caught here by Sam Nieto. That's doable in the 9 laps to go, but it's not looking good if you're looking here because it's a 10.5 second gap between him and Casto. It's 8 to go, and he's only catching him a second a lap.
Back to turn 1, and Casto with 8 laps to go continues to lead the way. You mentioned Sam Nieto. He's 10.5 seconds back from your current race leader, but how much longer can those tires go? They're at 66 laps for Casto and Horn. I think, Nolan, they kind of, at this point with 8 to go, you have to stay out. Both of them are playoff drivers. This could mean the difference between going into the next round and Casto. What does Connor Horn do? Is he forced to pit as well? He continues to stay out with 7 to go.
I saw that coming. Connor Horn was lifting and coasting so much more. He still didn't been coasting. He started to put the clutch in when he hit the second dog leg. Connor Horn, I think, still thinks he can sort of make it. Sean Casto, though, pushed too hard, and he's forced to come down to pit road. That is a disaster for Sean Casto, and that could very well cost him in the races to come.
Oh my gosh, because now you're going to have this battle set up. I don't think Connor Horn's going to hold Sam Nieto off, but can Agnell Phillip, he come in here and take this race from the 2 machine? What about Andrew Friedrich? Kevin King's back in this battle here. If anything happens to the 67 of Connor Horn, this is a five-way fight for the win, and we've seen it. The leader of the race can just barely get a little air off the spoiler, and well, they're back to the back, and he's clutching big time here. He's losing tons of time here. Agnell Phillip goes to second.
Battle for second rages on as we have a battle at the front of the field with Connor Horn trying to stay afloat 2 seconds above this group. Kevin King now joins the fray. That's second, third, and fourth. If Connor Horn pits, what's going to happen with 5 to go as off of turn 2, the gap 1.4 seconds. This could be the end for Connor Horn. He's got 5 to go. Did he save enough? He continues to save, clutches again in turn 3.
I knew he wasn't going to be able to stay out there in front of the race lead. There was just way too much time left. It was too big of a gamble. I think he should have pitted with the others. He's going to cost himself a race win. This coming lap, he is going to be overtaken. Clutching it again. Here comes Agnell Phillip. It's going to be no contest as Phillip's going to catch him, initiate, and clear potentially all in turn 2 and down the back straightaway. So Agnell Phillip through officially to the race lead.
And this turns the playoffs upside down because now Agnell Phillip looks like with 3 to go, barring the yellow flag coming out, is going to lock himself into the next round, and he could go to Talladega and the Roval and just be carefree. Just go out there and try to collect a win, be as aggressive as possible, but he still has to fight off Kevin King, who has now jumped to P2 there. He got through Connor Horn and Sam Nieto. Can King catch him from a second back who, stat-wise, they ran the same lap time?
1 second the gap between Phillip and King. 2 to go this time by from No Limits Texas. And this could spell the round of 8 for Agnell Phillip. He's got 2 laps to try and do it as King and Nieto fight for second.
Kevin King, Sam Nieto still battling it out for that second position as Agnell Phillip is way clear with the race lead with no competition whatsoever. And so far, it's all the Kevin King show. Nieto has not been able to get even close to him.
Yeah, Kevin King is going to I think he's going to just sit there and be content in second. But Agnell Phillip, what's up, man? 1 to go at Texas, and he's setting sail.
Final lap with 1.4 seconds, that gap for the lead. He won earlier this season in the spring at Darlington. As Connor Horn has to be forced to pit this time by, he's going to lose a ton of points. But somebody that doesn't have to worry about points now at Talladega at the Charlotte Roval as he exits turn 4. It's win number 2 in the season for Agnell Phillip. Say hello to the round of 8.
Oh my, what a race.
Kevin King just barely hung on for second place as Sam Nieto looked for the inside off of 4. Was not able to get there though. Friedage having to also settle for the 4th position, but playoff drivers throughout the entire top 5, and it will be all them at Talladega to watch out for, particularly 2nd through 5th.
This was one of the best races I've seen in RSR competition. I started late, got to Bristol Dirt, but I would say that this was the best race I have seen from start to finish. And Agnell Phillip, we didn't see race winning speed out of the 94 machine, and yet he's burning it down on the front stretch.
5th total race win for Agnell Phillip in his career in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. 4th in points paying competition. And this one's going to feel oh so sweet, locking himself into the round of 8. As he burns it down, we take a look at your full race results for tonight's race from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And it's Agnell Phillip that will lock himself into the next round of the playoffs in the round of 8. Kevin King, Sam Nieto rounding out the podium. We'll hear from all 3 of those drivers coming up in just a few moments, with Andrew Freenar's 4th. Cody Harris rounds out an all playoff driver top 5. Brandon Bowie, Matt Danson, Gary Sexton, Nick Silver, William Schmidt rounding out the top 10.
That's going to put Brandon Davis down in the 11th, 7.8 seconds back with Joseph Tyson 12th. Tom Wetmore is 13th with Sean Casto in 14th. Eric Papineau was in 15th with Manat Major in 16th. Brandon Fetterplace brings up 17th. Connor Horn was the last driver on the lead lap, down in 18th place, with Michael Johnson in 19th and Sean Kalis rounded out the top 20.
You go back here to 21st, you got Michael Araya and Ross Cato in 22nd, Brian Chambliss 23rd, Brandon 6th with the block. That turned into a must-win situation over the next 2 races with Eric Stanford, Dylan Jones, Jaron Weidmaster, Daniel Eberhardt, who had a very promising run in the early portion of this race, Timothy Johnson, and Michael Kaczynski rounds out your top 30, and Tom Morano comes home in the 31st position to round out this field.
So let's look top to bottom at your finishing results here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And what a night it was, especially for Agnell Phillip in the number 94, as he wins and advances into the round of 8. And we won't waste much time as we get to talking with Agnell Phillip, and we can hear the sigh coming from the 94, and I think that's a sigh of exhaustion. Agnell, that was an intense one, but you got it done. Welcome to the round of 8.
Thank you. I have absolutely no idea how at the end of all of that I came out on top of that, and all the permutations of how the strategy was going to play out. Me winning that race was not one I even considered, but I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad I don't have to worry about Dega next week.
Not having to worry about Dega, not having to worry about the Roval as well. But coming into tonight off of the last round, not able to get one of the 3 wins, but you're able to get yourself in on points now. Does the focus shift into the round of 8 fully now? Of course, Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. Vegas and Homestead, you could draw some similarities, both of them being 1.5 miles, but then the short track of Martinsville that we know with these new cars is a bit of a wild card now. Short tracks weren't normally a wild card. Now they are with this car. So are you focusing now fully on the round of 8, or are you still going to try and get a little bit of bonus at Dega and the Roval, because race wins do give you some bonus points?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, Dega you don't really have to practice for. That's more of a fun kind of thing, and it'll be freeing to not really have to worry about how things go there. But I'll try to get another couple bonus points. Obviously, we know Matt Danson is very, very good at these road courses, so the Roval might be a bit of a stretch, even if I did put in the time. But yeah, I mean, we were at Vegas earlier, slightly different parameters on iRacing, I guess. You know, the car drive's a little different than it did at the beginning of the year. We almost won the race at Vegas at the beginning of the year, but you know, I think I'll keep focusing on it, keep trying to just get better at this car. I think, you know, I still got a little bit to kind of get fully on pace with Kevin, especially, and Sam as well. I think they both really got this car figured out, and Brandon 6 as well. So just gonna keep trying to knock it out and get better. But yeah, it's a relief not to have to worry about the next couple of wild cards.
No pressure at Talladega. How aggressive are you going to be for that race win now?
Pretty. I mean, I was planning. I don't love to ride around at super speedways. I'd rather kind of try to stay out front and see how it goes. You know, we'll see who the guys I'm working with, you know, what sort of strategy they want to go for. But when it comes time, I mean, yeah, I'm only racing for bonus points into the next round. So I hope, you know, I'll be more than willing to make moves that maybe if I hadn't won today, I wouldn't be willing to make.
Great running tonight, Agnell. Race win for you. It's locked in spot into the round of 8. Who makes it all possible for you and the team?
Yeah, got to give a big shout out to the A51 Pro guys. They've, you know, we're almost at the end of the road to pro season. It's going to be a bit of a long shot to make it, but we're going to give our best at the last race here. So big shout out to them. Have to also thank my family and my partner for supporting me in this kind of crazy hobby. But yeah, and thanks to Evan and to you, Joshua and Terry, for doing the broadcast and putting this on.
Thank you very much for your time post-race. As Agnell Phillip, your race winner here from Virtual Texas Motor Speedway, and it looks like just about perfect timing, Terry, that we get the number 31 of Kevin King, and we'll get him for an interview here in just a moment. And a run for Kevin King that was looking like another dominating run for the 31. He qualified on the pole, but unfortunately ends up just shy of victory lane. You're standing by with the number 31.
Evan, how many times do I talk to you? And normally you're third, and then sometimes I get to talk to you in second. Well, I get to talk to you in second again. You had what looked to be the fastest car on the racetrack. You missed your pit box in the early portion of the race, but you battled back, and you got back to second. And you did it in a very bold move with a slow Connor Horn down there on the bottom, and a Sam Nieto to your outside, and you shot the gap. Were you just having fun?
Yeah, I mean, I had really good speed. I just kind of made moves that I knew that I had a high percentage of making. So, you know, I try to save my tires the best I could, let those guys burn it up. And, when I had opportunity, just kind of go through the motions and use what I had left over. And it was working, up until the end there. I couldn't get through traffic as well. And really killed my stuff. So pretty upset with that, because I felt like I ran a good race up until just trying to navigate traffic. But you know, still second, still good.
Well, so obviously the last time we went to a plate track, we all know who walked out the victor. I'm talking to him. You go to Dega. What's your percentage there? You know, based off of points, that you're not necessarily safe. You're never really safe in this type of style of playoffs. What's your mindset going into Dega? Are you going to be more conservative, or are you going to be the Kevin King of the last the last plate track we went to, where you basically sit up front all race long, didn't really give an inch, you took it? Which one are we going to see there?
I think it's just really going to depend on how I feel going into the race. I mean, I don't like super speedway racing, but I feel like I have a decent enough shot not to lose a lot of points because, you know, when people wreck, it usually takes out, you know, a handful of them. So if I get caught up in a wreck, it's more than likely going to take out other people that are in the playoffs as well, unless they're really far behind. So we'll see. It might just be one of those survival things where you kind of just sit back and then let them all wreck each other and then pick up the scraps and try to make a move at the end. But I need to run some races this week to see how the package is again, and you know, for at the end, yeah, we're gonna go for it. But I'm not gonna go up there like I need to win the race. I just, you know, want to salvage some points and not finish 25th or worse.
Well, I tell you what, you DM me when you're going to get on, and maybe we'll get in the same split. I think our iRating is nowhere near one another, but we could chance it. All right, we could go be partners on the track and in the booth. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't like them too much, but I'm always willing to learn and try to figure out what works and what doesn't, what moves are high percentage and which moves are low percentage. That's usually what bites me there. But yeah, it should be fun if I get some races under my belt this week.
I'm only about 5,000 below you iRating wise, but we won't bring that up here in the conversation. But let's talk their sponsors. Let's see what puts that car out here on the track here and in Road to Pro.
Yeah, absolutely. Boosted, Battle Beaver, Rev Grips, VRS, GSI, Tim's Corner, all the guys on the team we have 3 of us that are on the brink of making it. I think we got a really good piece this week. They're working on it right now again, so I'm gonna go help them out, see how they're doing. But yeah, you guys for putting it on. It was a really fun race. I was kind of concerned what my pace was going to be just based off a few races early. Then just, you know, I just had it long run speed, but you know, the fastest car doesn't always win, and that kind of happened tonight, I feel like. But we're still getting the points, so I'm not too worried about it. So appreciate y'all.
Well, I can't wait to watch you in Road to Pro on FTF or on Podium Thursday night. Best of luck to you and the team over there. Joshua Lee, that's Kevin King, and that 31, a strong P2 finish. And you got a third-place finisher there in Sam Nieto, and probably the best-looking paint scheme of the night.
I would have to agree with that. A great looking paint on the number 2 of Sam Nieto, and a 3rd place finish for you, Sam. And you had winning speed. We saw it. We thought you had the strategy to win it. Then the tires started to wear a little bit. You ended up in 3rd. What more do you need out of that Ford Mustang?
I needed to pit 2 to 3 laps later. You know, that before we pit on that long green flag cycle, I was getting held up by, you know, those guys who took tires. I think it was Connor. I don't know if he was trying to save fuel or just trying to slow us down, but you know, he took tires and we didn't, and he was just kind of holding us back. So I wanted to get on pit road so I could get out of that, and thought I could leapfrog Kevin, and I did for a while. But yeah, they're newer tires, and Kevin had really good long run speed anyway, and so did Agnell. So I just needed 2 to 3 more laps less on my tires, and I could have held on.
And now moving forward in this round, of course, you're not going to be really on the back foot when it comes to points, but not locked in either. Talladega next week and the Roval in 2 weeks' time. Are you worried going into those 2 wild cards, or do you think you can either get enough points through Dega and the Roval to move on, or maybe Talladega going to be a win for you?
I know I'm going to get wrecked at Talladega. The question is, can I get enough spots at a road course, which I am terrible at. I'm on a good day. If I finish in between 10th and 15th, I'll say it was a success. So I just got to hope I banked enough points here tonight, and I can eke out a couple points. You know, some other guys get wrecked out before me, because I don't live through these plate races.
Well, a good run for you tonight. 3rd place, some solid points on the board. Who makes it all possible for you in the number 2 car?
I'd like to thank Rousen. He makes these beautiful schemes. I don't know if he's open to the public to make schemes. So if you want a beautiful scheme, he's the guy to make them. I should have another one debuted next week.
And thank you very much for your time post-race. That's Sam Nieto, 3rd place finish for him in tonight's Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series race from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And we thank Agnell Phillip, Kevin King, Sam Nieto for joining us in the post-race show. And Terry will grab a quick look at the points. And right now, where they stand is going to make Talladega very, very interesting, because they're all so close right now. I mean, it's Agnell Phillip, of course. He he is now locked in. So you can ignore that 2-point buffer between himself and Kevin King. Doesn't matter what happens to Agnell Phillip, he's locked in. How about Kevin King? Still with a solid gap, but look at Sean Casto. He's only 15 points back from Kevin King. Nieto only good by about now 11 or 12, excuse me. Only good by not a ton. So Sean Casto on that cut line, 4 above Connor Horn. Nobody is really safe in that top 8.
No, and you have to think of what Talladega is going to bring. Lap 1, you could see a big wreck. Lap 10, you could see a big wreck. It really does not matter. You could be running in the lead, and with 1 to go, you go from 1st to 15th or 20th. And you know Talladega brings a lot of people into the fold. A lot of people are going to show up that maybe hasn't shown up for any other playoff race, but they're registered RSR racers. So it's an opportunity to gain a ton of points or to lock yourself in. But it's also a spot that you could lose a ton of points. I mean, you see Michael Johnson at the bottom of the barrel. If he messes around and wins Talladega from the last to second in a blink of an eye, and everybody else is going to the Roval scratching their heads going, man, I hate road course racing. It's 17 turns at the Roval.
We saw how aggressive Brandon Six was in blocking at Texas. How aggressive is he going to be at Talladega? I mean, I'm expecting a lot from Brandon Six. He's also a driver that's now outside looking in after his incident tonight, but Talladega Super Speedway, middle race in the round of 12. It's not an elimination race like it used to be, Terry, but it is still very exciting and very nerve-wracking for those drivers that are not named Agnell Phillip in the playoffs.
It's 17 turns that are going to follow this race. I think that every playoff driver that's sitting there that's not named Agnell Phillip better just go out there and throw caution to the wind. Who cares? Who cares if you wreck? Because, well, it's checkers or wreckers. It's Talladega. It's the wild card of the most wild card races in the playoffs. I don't care who you are. I want to win here. I'm actually, after the broadcast I do when I jump over to another channel, I'm jumping on. I'm going to potentially go win a truck race at Dega.
And we hope that you'll join us in 1 week's time, October the 3rd, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on RaceSpotTV. You can catch the middle race in the round of 12 for the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. On behalf of Evan Pasoko and the rest of the team at the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, and for everybody at RaceSpotTV, for my colleagues tonight, Nolan Rempel and Terry Radford, my name is Joshua Lee. We thank you for joining us for another race in the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. Agnell Phillip is locked into the round of 8. Now, what can he do in the playoffs on his road to the championship? 11 drivers are not safe, and we got a 2.66 miles of mayhem in 1 week's time. Make sure that you join us for another Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series race. But for now, we say good night from Texas and congratulations to the 94.